Hi, welcome to Biology Lesson 4.05, where we're going to start talking about cell respiration, or as it's also written, cellular respiration. Well, we just got done talking about photosynthesis. So let's start off talking about a plant. Take the tree that's outside your window. So we just spent a great deal of time talking about the fact that photosynthesis, the main end product is to make glucose. So that's the whole point. And anybody who is an autotroph who has chloroplasts can use the sun to produce glucose. And we said the formula is, I'm going to go ahead and balance this, is 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives us C6H12O6 plus 6O2. So this is waste. We really don't, it's the plants don't need it because the plants are taking in carbon dioxide. Uh, well, they kind of don't need it. We do. We need lots and lots of oxygen, so that works out well for us. You could say the plants don't need it for photosynthesis. That would be a more correct way of saying it. So the plants have all the energy they need, right? Well, not really. The glucose is the source for their energy, but they need energy. So do you. So, what form of energy do you need? Did you say ATP? I hope so. So, cellular respiration is making ATP. Well, here's the cool part. What do we make the ATP from? The glucose. So, what about plants? Are plants done when they're here? No, plants have to do this too. They need ATP as well. So we find out that the glucose becomes the source for our ATP. And the ATP then provides us the energy, or let's just talk about plants. Let's take people out of the equation. So if you're a plant, if you're a tree, you're making glucose. You use the glucose to make the ATP. The ATP, remember, is chemical power. So ATP equals power. That's how we power everything. It's the quarters and the machines at Chuck E. Cheese. It's the quarters and the washing machines and dryers at the laundromat. It's got the same shape. Everything's powered off of this. So the plant uses the glucose to make the ATP. The ATP gives the power to make to run photosynthesis. So we have a cycle. So these exist in a cycle. CYCLE. One feeds into the other. And check this out. When we're going to talk about how we represent cellular respiration as a formula, turns out we take glucose, we combine it with oxygen, and guess what we make? Wow. All we do is flip the equation. So we have photosynthesis, glucose is the source of energy needed, or I'm sorry, is the source material. I better rewrite that. I'm just going to white that out. And then cellular respiration provides the energy to make that run. So if we look at these two equations, remember the compounds that are on the left are reactants, and the compounds on the right are products. So photosynthesis reacts carbon dioxide and water, and it produces glucose and oxygen. If you notice over here, our reactants are glucose plus oxygen, But wait, where's the ATP? Well, you know what? We can write ATP in here. In fact, we're going to talk about one glucose molecule. Oh, shoot, is it 36? I think it's 36 ATP. I may have to come back and correct that. I think that's the max. So that's usually not represented in the equation. But cellular respiration, so let's define this. Cellular respiration. Let's write some notes about cellular respiration. I'm going to do it in blue. Cellular respiration is the process by which glucose, C6H12O6, I'm going to put in parentheses burned. And we're going to talk about what this means in the video that we're going to do on cellular respiration. So please know, this has got a lot more explanation coming, but we basically turn it into turned into 36 ATP. Well, why do we bother to do this? A glucose molecule is actually pretty big. It's kind of like saying that if you had to heat your home in the winter, would you bring the whole, if you had a wood burning stove, would you bring the tree in and stick the tree into the fireplace or the wood burner? You wouldn't. You'd have to break it down and turn it into something that's useful. So here we're turning it from a tree into little logs, lots of little logs. And now we can use these. And we use these actually to keep photosynthesis going. This takes place in eukaryotes. This takes place in mitochondria. In the mitochondria. In prokaryotes, they have another pathway. And we're going to talk about that as well. So the first half of our chapter was just figuring out, so what are our takeaways here? Our takeaways are that we were figuring out in the first half of the chapter where this glucose comes from, but this glucose, now it provides the plant some structure as well, but in terms of energy, the plant can't do a thing with this. You can't do a thing with this. A frog can't do a thing with this. It has to take the glucose, this source material, and undergo cellular respiration in the mitochondria, where we're going to produce all of these ATP. Then, if you're a plant, you can take this ATP back and you can use it to make more glucose. Now, what about you? What are you using your ATP for? Maybe you have to go cut down the plant and eat it. And that's what you have to use your energy for because you're not an autotroph. But pretty cool the fact that these reactions are flips. And so that's why we call it a cycle, because the reactants of one are the products of the other, and the products of one are the reactants of the other. So we're going to look at this in more detail, both how eukaryotes do this and how prokaryotes do this. Prokaryotes can actually do it. They can do it without oxygen, but we have to have that oxygen. So more to come in the following videos, but that's our introduction for cellular respiration. Thanks for watching.